very soon the portal that we use will be replaced by Office 365. So what that means is that instead of storing everything and having multiple folders to try and find everything, it's going to be a little bit easier. The best way to get to Office 365 is to log into Compass, then go to the star, down to HPSC email, and then let the portal page load. So this should be the first page that you get. The first one, sc.vic. You don't need to put a password in, it's your code at hpsc.vic.edu.au. When you click sign in, it redirects you to the school's homepage, and then you enter in the same username again, and this time you enter your password, which is your computer login. So when it loads, obviously the first thing it's going to do is take you to Outlook, because that's how we got here. So this is your Hampton Park email. I've got mine forwarded so that they all go to my Outlook account. We'll start up the top. The calendar isn't being used at the moment, so there's nothing on there. People, this is how you can find anyone that is linked into the school on Office 365, so both staff and students. The news feed is where you can send out messages to select groups of people or your select sites that you've made. So I can share a note with any of my classes that I've made. OneDrive, this is where you will be storing things if you choose to store them on the cloud for you to use later on at any computer. So if you're doing things at your school laptop and then you have another computer that you use at home, you can save things to your OneDrive through your computer. Just normally, you just select that as your save point and then you'll access it through here. The second one down the bottom is ones that the school makes accessible to everybody. The most important thing that we're going to be looking at today is site. So this one here, which is the one on the far right. You'll notice that I have several classes that I have set up down the bottom, and these are just my trial runs that I've been making as I'm testing things out. To make a new site, and this is how you'll share your information with your students. So you want to set up a site, you click on new site, you name your site, and then you can add, you have to add a co-owner before it lets you create it. So if you're not available for any number of reasons and they need to have access to your account, the people that you put in here will be able to access that account. So once I click create, it then goes on to loading and creating that site for me. Okay, so once it's loaded, this first page here lets you share your site right with other people. So if you click on that, all you need to do is put in the names of anyone that you want, and then the list of contacts from the school shows up. You can check who you've already shared your site with by clicking the shared with button here. Working on a deadline lets you set tasks, you can add lists of things, you can change the look, you can add a logo, and you can set up email. So the first things that you're going to want to look at are the ones on the left over here. This notebook is a OneNote notebook that is just specific to this website. So it's only really, it's hard to explain. There'll be two OneNotes that'll be on 365. This one here, that's the notebook for the site, and then there'll be a notebook that's for the class. So this one here is the site's OneNote. So anytime you're wanting to put things up separately in another OneNote, that would be how you do it. If you go to Documents, which is the third tab down, you can upload any documents that you want your students to access, and you can hit sync and sync it. Just clicking the new means you can add new things as well. If I go down to Site Contents, this is where I will add my classes OneNote or any other things that I want them to have. So going to Site Contents, you should be able to do this OneNote setup tool for teachers. If you can't do it that way, the other option is the gear up the top here, and then Site Contents, which takes you to the same screen that you have here. So you click on the OneNote gear, and this OneNote sets up 3 different OneNotes that you'll be using. So if I click on create a class notebook, I then need to name it and then hit next. And this tells you the 3 OneNotes that it's going to make all grouped together under this heading. So it makes 3 different sections. The first section is a content library where you can add, remove, and write, but the students can only read the material that's there. The second one is a collaboration space where everyone, you and all your students, will have permission to add and remove things from that space. And the last one is a student notebook. You can see the students' notebooks. The students have all permissions to their own notebook, but cannot see anyone else's. If you're wanting to change the name of these folders, you must do it now. You cannot change it later on, or when you go to add new students into your class whenever they join your class, then you won't be able to make that connection. So if you change them later, they can't connect. If you change it now to what you want it to be, then that should be fine. And then hit next. You can enter in your students' names, and then again just click on the students that you want to do, and it will send them an invitation. In the students' private OneNotes that they have, it creates several different folders automatically, and you can select which ones you want, which ones you don't want, and you can also click add more to add a new section. Hit next, and it shows you what it will look like. So this is what the teacher's OneNote will look like, and then the students one has the students section group added to it as well. Hit create, and it does take a little bit of time to make the OneNote, but that's fine. So once it loads, it will be accessible both on 365 and in your regular OneNote. So if I go in here, these are some of the ones that I made previously. So the first page that it gives you is the welcome page, which again gives you the instructions that you need for OneNote, same as they were before. You've got your collaboration space and your content library. So anything I add here, my students can see, and my students can add anything they like there. And then I've got the content library where I can add anything. So similar to before, when you're wanting to copy things from OneNote, from one OneNote to another, you just need to find the OneNote that you're wanting to move, right click on it, select move or copy, then the one that you're going to take it into. So I'll put it into here. Make sure that you select your content library or your collaboration space, depending on where you're wanting to put it, and you want to copy it there. So now if I go back into here, I've got my other one down the bottom there. So this is syncing, even though I'm off the school's network, because it's on 365. So anyone that I've added into that class, which I haven't added yet, would now get this straight away. They wouldn't need to wait until they got back to school for this to sync. So if I go back to the home page for the 7A OneNote, those 3 options come here again. So I can add new students if I wanted to, or I can look at my other notebooks that I've made. So anytime that you need to add a new student into your OneNote because they are a new member to your class, then all you need to do is click on the add new student, and it's the same steps as it was before. You just need to select the OneNote that you're wanting to add them to. So this is the home page that we were on before. That OneNote goes into documents on the left hand side here in my folder that I've got 7A Science, and then open the notebook, and it will open it straight into my OneNote that I have on my computer, as opposed once I've done it online. So once it's done online, up the top here it says open in OneNote. Once I click that, it'll open it up for me in my regular OneNote. So if I go back, so this one here is now back to my home page with my documents. If I go down to site contents again, there are other things that you can add. So if you click add an app, you can choose to set up a site mailbox. If you choose to do this, then what it means is that you can send group emails to anyone that's within that one particular group really easily, and they can reply. You can send it through Outlook because I've connected it to my Outlook as well, so it's nice and easy for you to do it. It's basically exactly the same as going through Hampton Park email, except that you also can just select the group already because they're the group that you've added to that class. The other options that you have in your site contents is you can add more document libraries. If you go over the app details, it tells you more about that app. Custom lists. So if I call this test 1, when I add this lists, what it means is it's now up over the side here. So if I click on test 1, I can add any items to this list that I want. And now it's up here in this list here. I can edit what I can see. So if I wanted to, say, do an assessment task and give it a due date and time, then I can select the date that I want it to be due and then what time I want it to be due as well, and that will come up there. And then just need to hit stop editing this, and then that's done. I can also change how it's viewed, so I can create a new view and I can create it to be viewed as a calendar. So I might make one where it's their homework, and every time that they do homework, I'm going to put their homework in there. I would suggest not making it the default view, but if you're wanting them to see the calendar as their first point of call, then you're welcome to do that. Public view means everyone can see it. I want to sort mine by date and time so that my events go into the date that they're chosen. And the names of what I want to see in those boxes is going to be the title for each one of these. So I'm just going to go down, select title. So it doesn't matter what screen they go to, it's going to be sorted by the title. I want a month to a view, and I want to show all the items, and I want to enable them to view it mobile as well. So here is my event. The benefit of doing it through this way is that you can add attachments into this document. So if I go back to here, even if I click on this one here, I can edit the item and I can attach the homework file that they have to do right then and there into that document. So if I wanted them to do something by a certain date and time, I can attach the document right into that work that they have to do. The other option that you have, if you go to site contents, add an app, is that you can do tasks. And tasks let you create checklists of things that you're going to be doing. So if I click on my tasks one, I can add a new task. Same as before, but for this one I can select when we're starting it and when they need to submit it by, so that'll give them a week. I can select certain students that I want to do this assessment task, so not necessarily everyone needs to have access to it. If I hit save, it then comes up here and I can view it as a calendar, so it automatically makes the calendar mode. So I can see that there. With this one here, you can still attach the file and everything like that. You can say how much they've finished, all that kind of stuff as well. So it is completely up to you which one you wanted to be doing. Either of them seems to be an effective way. With this tasks one, the list one, they may be able to submit it to you through that as well, but I haven't checked that yet. So far this is Office 365 and this is what I know about Office 365. There's probably heaps more other things that you can do on here that I haven't had the opportunity to have a look at, such as subsites and things like that. Have a look, have a play. The students don't have access to Office 365 yet. They will eventually, so all of our OneNotes and everything will be on Office 365 in the near future. It's a much easier way for you to connect to your students. You don't need to worry about clicking here, clicking there, make sure you name it the right name so that everyone has the same file name, and then having the link to their computers to access it. You don't need to worry about any of that stuff. It's automatically generated for you. So it is a lot easier way for you to access an electronic workbook from your students. as I said, they don't have access to it and they might not have access to it for a little while. However, this is the direction that the school is going, so it's good to